That is what is going to be an all too common Bengals L in 2025. What's up, you guys? First off, apologies for the echo whenever you may hear. I am in a hotel room in Denver. It is 1 a.m. Eastern. It's 11 p.m. Mountain Time. I went to the Bengals game tonight, watched them get their asses handed to them. And more than breaking down anything in the game, I just have lots to say. So, I'll explain why I'm here in Denver, because it's not just because I'm a Bengals fan. It's because I'm a disenfranchised Bengals fan. Um, Last year, Dallas. By the way, guys, get in your super chats. Or, don't super chat. Just send your chats. I'll get to them. But last year, Dallas, there was a really unique situation where AEW did an on-sale ticketing event that I got to do interviews for. And I looked at the schedule and I said, oh, Monday Night Football's there and the Bengals are there. So let me go do that. I'll do some media and I'll go check out the Bengals at a different stadium. And I saw what amenities were supposed to look like for a football team, an NFL team, because they all make a ton of money. And it was that moment where I decided to give up my Bengals season tickets, because I was like, okay, like I'll still go with my dude Drew and Charles and Jeff. I'll go with them and stuff like that. But like, I can't give that team season ticket money every year. First off, it's expensive. You get less and less, but you see the amenities. And then I decided, well, you know what? I would like to go see the Bengals play. I love the Bengals team, love the dudes on the team, but I would like to go see them play at other stadiums. And I'm going to do full reviews of each one of these. But let me tell you guys, being in that building tonight, like I couldn't even be mad at a 28-3 loss. Couldn't be mad at it. The environment was unbelievable. They had toddlers racing puppies up for adoption at halftime. There were people parachuting in to the stadium. They have an actual Bronco on the field pregame. They have a pregame show. There's no reason the Bengals couldn't hire Renee Paquette to do that on Sundays, but they don't. They're lazy. They're apathetic. They don't care about their fans. That's what I'm seeing compared to the experience I got at a Denver Broncos game at Empower Field. The crowd is stomping like a herd of Broncos. There's so much fan participation, and it's very, very cool that we occasionally stripe the jungle and we got the white out. Like, those are cool. But man, Denver Broncos fans, they brought it. And they've had the most consecutive sellouts of any NFL team. So not a surprise there, but it was an incredible thing. There are little things like lights in the concourse that make a big difference when you're here in Denver. But it was wonderful. The fans were great as well. It was lovely. So let's talk about the game briefly. I can't believe that Jake Browning only got sacked 3 times. It felt worse than that. 14 of 25. He sucks. He's bad. If the Bengals continue forward with him as their quarterback, it is showing me that they are giving up on the season. And you can say, go get Jameis, go get Russ, whatever. Anybody's better than Jake Browning right now. I can't believe they had him ranked above Jackson Dart a couple weeks ago. Kind of insane. I guess if you want me to bring a positive, he didn't throw a pick. That's pretty impressive that he didn't throw a pick. Another thing I was very happy about, the run game, all things considered. It's just they ran the ball 12 times. When Jake Browning couldn't get going, they ran the ball 12 times. Now, Chase Brown was, again, you can blame the line all you want, and the line does need to help. But when P. Ryan comes in and does well, when Jamar Chase ran the ball well, when Taj Brooks came in and ran the ball better, when Yoshivas had a rush for 5 yards tonight, okay, Chase Brown has got to shoulder some of that blame. And he did much better tonight, 4 yards a carry, with his long of 6, though. He just doesn't get explosive runs. He also had 3 receptions, which is very, very good. Jamar Chase had 5 receptions for 23 yards. It's good to see Yoshivas not disappear. He had 1 reception for 22 yards. All right. And T. Higgins had 3 for 32. I at least respect that Jake Browning is heaving the ball up and seeing if T and Jamar will go get it. I at least respect that. So, but the fact that there were 40 offensive plays, there are 40 offensive plays. Think about that. 40 snaps that resulted in a completion attempt or a rushing attempt. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos had 42 passing attempts alone and then 38 carries. By the way, the Bengals can't stop the run. 4.9 yards a carry. They can't stop the pass. 326 yards passing. Demetrius Knight did have a nice pick in the end zone. The Bengals also got hosed on that fair catch call. They got hosed on 2 calls in particular. And let me tell you, the penalties were insane. Now, not enough to make a difference, but look, if the Bengals didn't get that false start, it was like a phantom false start in the first quarter, there's a chance they come back and score 3 points there. That's one positive we can take from this season. Evan McPherson has looked good. He looks like the Evan McPherson of old. I'm going to chalk that up to long snapper there. But the Bengals got called for so many penalties that it was insane. Like, this referee crew calls the most penalties of anybody, and they were making sure that you knew that. They had 11 penalties for 65 yards. I can't believe the Broncos got penalized more yards. But the Broncos had the ball for like 38 minutes. The Bengals had it for like 22 minutes. It just didn't feel like anything. You knew to start the game that Zach Taylor was going to call a screen pass run. And if I know that, they know that. They absolutely know that. It's lazy and it's uninspired, and it's really, really frustrating to see. Solid open drive. I thought the play call on 3rd and 2 was terrible. You should have run the ball, and then you should have went for it on 4th. You can't get first downs otherwise. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think that if they ran the ball on 3rd and 2, we're talking about 7 points on the board instead of 3. If they didn't get called on that lame false start, there's at least 3. And then they got hosed on the fair catch call, which would have been 3-7. So best case scenario, I saw the Bengals scoring 17 points today, and that wasn't going to get it done. It wasn't going to get it done. The Bengals have fumbled on their draft. They had 2 third-round picks from last year sitting on the bench. It's inexcusable. Inactive. They need Shamar Stewart back because their defense can't get anything done. Cam Taylor-Britt got absolutely abused and embarrassed on 2 different plays. Receiver caught the ball, looked at Cam Taylor-Britt, and just juked him out. It was embarrassing. He is a depth piece at best now. At best. It was just... Let's get to some chats. Tim says, Cincinnati only got to the Broncos territory once the entire game. That was the drive for the field goal. At some point, you got to go 4 downs every time. Ryan Rico also, he went from having some of the worst punts I've ever seen to some of the best. How was your experience at Empower Field at Mile High? It was lovely. It was really great. I got lucky that Lexington to Denver has direct flights now, so I was very happy about that. Got to see a ton of my friends. Got to see my old boss, Raj Giri, who was here at the game. Lovely to see him. He had wonderful things to say. But it was an incredible experience at Empower Field. I mean, the people that I went and hung out with after the game have never been to a game here, and it's wild to me. I would go all the time if this is what it was like. Well, today is now tomorrow on the East Coast. Have a good show. Hope the Bengals have a better week next week. Well, they're playing the Lions, Tim, so they're not. So sorry to my good friend Mona and her wonderful husband. I'm not going to that game. Holy smokes, he's alive. What's up, Sean? Your boy just went to Putt Shack and had 3 hole-in-ones en route to a big victory. Big victory there. Nick says, I am right about firing Zach Taylor since 2022. It's time. It's definitely time. I'll tell you what you should start with. Make him turn over play calling. Make him turn over the play calling to Dan Pitcher. See how that does. Give him a little bit of leash throughout this season, because what's firing a coach going to do this year at this point? Probably nothing. Change the play caller. And if it improves, maybe Zach gets a little more of a leash. Otherwise, he is a Joe Burrow merchant. Just like I thought Lou Anarumo was a Jesse Bates merchant in Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati sports fans will know what I'm talking about. The Bengals and the Reds run exactly alike. The Reds are going to have a lot of fans off their case because they squeaked into the playoffs with 84 wins. They haven't had more than 84 wins in 11 years. And they squeaked in so they can go out west and lose a 3-game series to the Dodgers. And then you can come back and say, all right, well, we're rebuilding for next year. And then they won't. It'll be 75 to 84 wins per usual. The Bengals had 2 great seasons on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow's rookie contracts, and then they forgot how to manage a team. They wouldn't spend money early. They cost themselves a ton. They cost themselves an awful lot. They don't have an appropriate scouting department. They don't have a real GM. Their head coach is calling the plays, and it clearly doesn't work when you have an offense that talented and can't move the ball. It is historically the worst offense that I've ever seen for the Cincinnati Bengals, and some of the worst defense as well. But if you have even this level of talent on offense and you can't move the ball, he's got to give up play calling. Now, if you want to give him a chance to retain his job, sure. Tim says, holy cow, my phone scared me, letting you know it was live. We suck. Yeah, we do. Time for Zach Taylor to go. Don't know who you would replace him with, but you got to try. Giving me flashbacks to the late stage Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. Bad coach with great talent being wasted. Yeah, and I like Zach Taylor personally. I think he's a wonderful guy. I think he's great for the city. He's a good dude. But Haywood Wong says, do you do a fire sale and cut Zach Taylor? I don't do a fire sale. If you can get a first or second from Trey Hendrickson, I would do that, because at this point, you're going to need the money that he's making next year to replenish your team on free agent. From a free agent standpoint, you need as many high-quality draft picks as possible. I don't want them to trade a draft pick for like Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. If they want to trade like McKinley Jackson or Jermaine Burton or somebody like that, by all means, go ahead and do that. Joe Brady should be a phone call. It's my own video. Let me pause that. Let me just pause that. Technical issues, man. Jesus Christ. Yes, I agree. Joe Brady should be the first call. My bad with the audio. Jake Browning stay QB all year, or do they trade for one? I think if it gets too bad, they will probably just have Mike White come in and do that. John Gruden scares me. Hasn't done well since 2005 in Tampa. Yeah. Hand the keys to John Gruden and let him do the whole organization. They won't do that. But man, it was depressing. It was frustrating to watch. It was frustrating to see. Somebody says so Mike McCarthy comes in then. CTB is washed. Just play Josh Newton. Yeah, I would be okay with that. Bright side, the Ravens are in a worse situation. Technically, they are. They still have Lamar Jackson, though, and I think Lamar Jackson is one of the best players I've ever seen play football. So as long as they have him and they have Derrick Henry, they've got a chance, in my opinion. The Bengals don't have a chance. They don't have a chance at all. The Ravens are in the situation the Bengals were in last year, where you hope that their offensive firepower is enough with Zay Flowers Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson might be hurt, but Red on a West says, "Man, I'm from Cincinnati. Was hyped for Raw in the game. The game was so shit. Time to fire Zach Taylor and bring in a new QB." I agree with all that. I will say at that point, return Denver had was a bobble. It was not punt interference. Should have been Cincinnati ball. Not making excuses. Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you, Red. I mean, that wouldn't have changed the game. Maybe the Bengals score 7 there, right? Maybe they would have scored 7 if they went for it on 3rd and 2 in the first drive. That would have been 14 points, and maybe at best they could have gotten 3 more with a bad false start or something. But the absolute best case scenario is that all 3 of those drives go the Bengals' way, and they still lose by 8 points. Exclusive John Wrestling says, "You watching Facebook chats?" Yep. It says, "Fire Zach Taylor, sign a different QB, only remotely way to save the season." There's no good Bengals players or no good quarterbacks out there. Nick says, "Ravens have a great front office. Scouting department is just a QB that quit." Yeah, it is wild to me that people passed on Lamar twice. They passed on him in the draft and when he was up for trade. Sean, the Rams would be perfect for, and they say F them picks. Yeah, I would love that. I would love any picks for anybody we could get. Like, I mean this sincerely. If you can trade Cam Taylor-Britt for a 6th, you do it. If you can trade Gesicki for a 6th, you do it. If you can trade, who else we got? Yoshi Voss. I'd probably trade Yoshi Voss at this point. Mitch Tinsley is probably better off than him. I'd trade Yoshi Voss for a 5th or a 6th. Maybe you ain't going to get a 5th out of him. Are you from Cincinnati? I am from I live in Lexington, but the place that I lived my whole life before, I always say it was equally inconvenient to get to Cincinnati, Lexington, and Huntington, West Virginia. At least you have the Blue Jays, Leaf season starting, Reds still playing. Yeah. I mean, Kentucky basketball might win a game before Kentucky football does, though. T for Rush straight up then. You know, I'd probably trade T for – I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up T. I don't want to give him up. Probably not getting a first for Trey. Well, they're not going to trade him for less than that. Because if they just let him go, they'll get a 3rd-round comp pick. It's his final year in Cincy. He signed a 1-year extension. And that's the thing. The Bengals don't like paying people to not coach. Trey. Oh, they're talking about Trey. So Trey signed a 1-year extension, but there's the eligibility to tag him, which seemed like a foregone conclusion. But at this stage, and I like Trey Hendrickson, but I think at this stage, you're better off letting Trey walk, getting the 3rd-round comp pick, and then just using that money elsewhere. I think Joe Burrow might be the best QB in the NFL after seeing what happened after he got hurt. I mean, he makes his own errors too. It's just when you have an incompetent ownership, incompetent management, incompetent scouting, incompetent coaching, how can you overcome that? They don't set him up for success. And it is an epidemic in Cincinnati sports, unfortunately. It is a situation that Cincinnati ownership puts teams in. And look, the Reds are doing the same thing. They got into the playoffs, guys. The Reds got into the playoffs. Great. Let me know if they win this 3-game series, because then I'll get excited. Happy they're there. You want me to be excited about an 84-win season? Bengals, what's worse, Bengals front office or 2000 WCW? Oh, 2000 WCW. Did you go to the game by yourself? No, my wife went with me. They need the Chiefs drafting power. Yeah, they do. The difference is when the Chiefs bring in people with character issues, they get better. Sounds scary as it is, Burrow sounds like the next Andrew Luck. I don't think so. I don't think he's doing that. Ryan Combs says, we can't give up T, him and Jamar, our entire offense right now. I agree. But we shouldn't be paying Trey if our O-line and defense is bad, not to mention Zach Taylor's shit calls. Ryan, I'm completely with you. I am completely with you there. Like they paid Orlando Brown Jr. He hasn't been good. Ted Karras, I think if he comes back next year, it's as a depth piece. They need a new center. I would love to see them try out Matt Lee. Mims has been okay. They need Lucas Patrick back for depth at guard, and Dylan Fairchild has not been good yet. Now he's a rookie. Maybe he'll get better, but you got to draft some more O-line depth there because that line gets banged up very easily. And yes, I would rather be paying I would rather pay 4 players on defense $8 million each than one Trey Hendrickson $32 million. That's how I feel at this stage. I was in tonight. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Oh, man. Guys, I am exhausted. I appreciate you joining me this late. What a time, man. I really enjoyed being off Twitter today, too, besides the Bengals Twitter. So I'll probably just not do Twitter as much. I appreciate you guys. Until next time, we're out.